This is Amanda from Time Out Scraps, and I'm excited to be back on Holly Pixels with you. We're going to make a scrapbook page today in Procreate. We're going to start with a template. These are some new templates in the shop that are called pocket page templates. And what's cool about these is they have the top layer is a plastic page with stitching on it, so it looks like a pocket page that we would do in paper scrapbooking. The rectangles are all the journal cards, or where the rectangles where you can clip your photos and your papers to. I'm going to go to the wrench and go to crop and resize, and we're going to go to settings, turn on resample canvas, and we're going to change the pixels to 600 by 600 and 150 dpi. Remember, I do this because I'm keeping mine digital and I have an older iPad. So if you're going to print, leave the size and the settings how they originally import into Procreate. All right, so I'm going to pull up Dropbox so I can get to my kit and my photos. So we're going to add the photos first. And I just go to my layers panel and I'm going to go to the different sizes. You can see the sizes of each of the rectangles. And I'm going to start with the big ones first because I'd like to get my photos in those areas. And I'm just using some photos from Pixabay today. Some really cute girls all ready for Christmas. I'm going to pull one photo in on top of a rectangle, resize, get what I want, what's important in the photo over that rectangle. And then we'll go back to the layers palette, layers panel, and we're going to clip that photo down to the rectangle. That's a clipping mask. That's what you'll click on. Click on the photo and then hit clipping mask. You can watch me do all 4 photos. So here's the second one. Resize. Then we'll go to the layers panel, click on the photo itself, and hit clipping mask. Make sure it's right above the rectangle that you're wanting to clip to. See, I can still hit the select arrow up there and move my photo around. I don't like to center the subjects on the rectangle. I kind of like them to, the focus to be either a little to the left or to the right. I think it adds some interest. Add 2 more photos and clip those also to the rectangles. You'll notice this one I'm also centering a little to the right this time. Makes it so fast to add a lot of photos to a page by using a template because it's already planned out for you. And you have more time to play. I'm going to add this one a little more to the right. And now we can add some papers. I do have some more rectangles and a square, but they're smaller and I don't want all of the shapes, the rectangles, to be photos. That might be too many photos to look at. So I'm going to add some of our pattern and fun papers to the top here. First, I'm going to add the background paper, so I have to go underneath of the photos. And you'll notice that I do accidentally import it on top of one of the photos. So I have to go back to the layers panel and I'm going to fix that and move the paper down, and then I have to re-clip that photo. So now I'm going to go back in and put a clipping mask back on that photo. Much better. Now we're going to add in some papers to the other shapes. So make sure in your layers panel you go to the rectangle that you want to work with. We'll start with the square actually. I'm gonna add some plain paper and some patterned. I think if you did all pattern, it might be too busy. So adding in some of the plain cardstock paper is nice to break that up. And you can put more fun stuff on top too. I love these trees. This kit I'm using, by the way, is called Holly Jolly. And it's fun because it's not your traditional red and green colors. And I'm just adding each one in. We're add some Christmas lights. If you notice, I'm also resizing the papers to get the pattern to be the size that looks nice to me. Even after you clip it, remember you can still select and adjust the sizing. Now we'll add in some more plain paper. And one more paper. Now I'm going to add some embellishments and shadowing. That's our next steps. So I'm going to pull up the embellishment file. And that middle square is a bit plain. So there is some graffiti paint that I'm going to add to the top. It has some fun glitter too in it. So I'm going to clip this one to the actual card so it's still on top of that journal card there. So I'm going to get the sizing right. I'm going to clip it to that shape. So I'm going to bring it down on top of the teal, the light teal color, and add another clipping mask. So it's going to be a clipping mask on top of the paper. Now all my journal cards are filled up and I want the rest of my embellishments to be on top of the plastic. So I'm going to still add a shadow to these shapes so they pop up just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and merge all of these layers together to add the shadow once. Just make sure that you're done adding individual things and you're done adjusting your photos because you can't undo this once you merge them. So to add a drop, and I accidentally merged them in the wrong order, so I had to undo. You can't undo right away if you catch it, but later I can't go back. So I'm going to select all of the shapes. I'm going to add a layer below there. So first I'm going to select, go back to my layers panel, go below that layer, add another layer, and then I'm going to fill the layer with black. All those shapes are now filled in, and I'm going to go and add an adjustment, which is a Gaussian blur to the layer. I'm going to zoom in to the page so I can see it really close, and I'm going to turn up the opacity so it blurs out a little, looking like a drop shadow. And I have to go back out, zoom back out to make sure it looks how I want it to look. Now all my drop shadows for all of those shapes are done at once. Now we're going to go back to the layers panel, and I could have merged the drop shadow. I don't know if I actually remembered to do that. Nope, I think I left the blur. So now we're going to add some embellishments on top, and I'm going to start by adding just a flower cluster to the middle. I love flower clusters on a scrapbook page. And I think odd numbers look really nice, so I'm going to add 3 flowers. I always try to build where the most things that look 3D, the taller 3D things are put so that they're on top. So like that paint layer is under the flowers and the flowers are now on top. And it wouldn't make sense for these big flowers to get stuck in a pocket page. So they're glued on top of the plastic pocket pages. So remember, when the flowers get small, I have to, once it's still selected, I can move it by going to the outside of the page on the gray, and I can move the small item around, the small flower. I'm going to wait and shadow all the rest of my embellishments at the end. I'm going to add some leaves underneath the flowers. It's easier for me to add the flowers first and then the leaves underneath of it. So I just add one type of leaf, and then I'm going to duplicate it a few times. So I just slide it over and hit duplicate, select it, and rotate. I think I'll duplicate it one more time. And you could add different leaves as well. It'd be interesting too. But I just chose one. I love this one because it has lots of glitter. Christmas is the one time where we can get away with using a lot of glitter. And digital glitter is the best because it's easy cleanup. All right, we're gonna add some more embellishments. All right, finish adjusting that. I'm gonna go under the leaves because it's gonna add a little word bit to this page. So I want it to be underneath the leaf because remember, the word bit is a flat piece of paper, and that would be under the 3D leaf. So I'm gonna add that underneath there. Let's see. I'm gonna add a heart to one of the other squares. And let's put something on top of that. There we go. Jolly good time. Put that on top of the heart. And we need something to attach it. Oh, these gems are perfect for that, so I'm going to add one of these little gems. And again, the gem is so small, you'll have to move, once you get it as small as you want it, you'll have to move it on the outside of the page, on the gray area. Yeah, it's just so helpful if you can zoom in on your page when you are going and working with small things. Okay, now let's see. We'll add a scatter to the page, some confetti. We'll just add it to the bottom because it's a little plain down there. Confetti and glitter, why not? Gotta have Santa on a Christmas page, right? We'll add Santa to one of the plain paper blocks. And I might as well add something to that top pink one too. Let's find something that'll fit there. Candy cane, perfect. And candy cane is a little plain, so let's add something on top of that too. Perfect bow. Get it to the size you want. And it kind of was bleeding into the background stripe a little bit, so I was trying to adjust it so it would stand out. But when I centered the bow on the paper, then the candy cane was off to the side too much, so I didn't like that either. So I'm going to take that bow and I'm going to just turn it around. I think it'll look a little bit better, smaller. If I can turn it 180 degrees, I like that a lot better. Plus, I remember I'm going to add a drop shadow to it, so that will help it stand up a bit from the background. Let's add some more. Add something underneath. Give it some more interest. About these big snowflakes. That would be looking cool coming out from underneath the cluster there. I want to keep them pretty big still compared to other things. There we go. And we'll add the other one underneath on the other side too. I like to rotate, especially the snowflakes, so they don't look too symmetrical. I want them to look a little off center. We'll add the pink one underneath. Rotate that one a little bit. It's too high. Let's take it down further. That'll help the cluster flow from the top of the page to the bottom of the page. Connect those photos better too. All right, that looks really good. And now I'm going to do some work on drop shadows. I probably could have even gotten rid of my Dropbox side panel, but that's okay. I'm going to merge the layers together that can be merged together as I go as well. I'm adding Gaussian blur for all of the drop shadows. Merge the snowflakes together. Those can be done at the same time. And we're going to do the two word bits at the same time as well, because that shadow, they don't touch each other, and so those drop shadows can be done at the same time to save us a lot of time, because the drop shadows do take a while to put on. And remember, we're just selecting the layer and then filling the layer below it with black, and then we're adding a Gaussian blur, and then we up the opacity till it looks nice to us. And merge the gem and the confetti because they're about the same size. And smaller things or flatter things will need less of a drop shadow, so less opacity than the darker things. Oh, there was the word bits. Now we're gonna merge the gem and the confetti. Select, go back to the layers panel, underneath add a layer, fill it, and then add a Gaussian blur. You can go ahead and continue to watch all the drop shadows being put in. Okay, now that we're to the leaves, and now we're gonna go to the flowers. The leaves and the flowers are a little more three-dimensional, so we're adding a little more drop shadow to them. I did the leaves all at once because they're under the flowers and not so much is showing except the edges. But I don't do the same to the flowers. I keep them all separate because they are clustered together and overlapping, and I want that shadow to be in between each of the flowers. So I do take the time to do a drop shadow to each flower by itself. All right, our page, I believe, is done. So take another look. I hope you've enjoyed this, you've learned something, or have been inspired by something, and I can't wait to see what you do. Have a great day.